Hello everybody, welcome to Project Beauty, where we talk about project panning and everything beauty related. My name is Jen. I wanted to share with you guys the new Pat McGrath Labs mini eyeshadow palette in Midnight Voyage. I believe this is the first of this kind. I absolutely love the holographic gold on the front. It's very small. If I'm going to do a comparison, I have very large hands, so I will show you it against one of the Huda Beauty 9 pans, because I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with the Huda Beauty 9 pans. So it is incredibly tiny in comparison, but it is about the same thickness, so just really small. Now, when you're looking at the inside of the shadows, you do get 6 eyeshadows. It does come with one of these little plasticky things and a mirror, but it looks like this on the inside. So these are very Pat McGrath eyeshadow colors. I have duped a couple of these shades, actually all of the shades with shadows from her larger, I think it's 10 pan palettes, the $170 palettes. So I will share with you guys pictures of that after I do the looks, but I first wanted to share with you guys what the inside of the palette looks like. So I apologize for my hair. I'm getting it done tomorrow, so disregard. This is what the inside of the palette looks like. It's really pretty. Again, standard Pat McGrath eyeshadow colors, but this is legit the perfect size for travel. So you can actually dupe these out very well with her larger palettes, the $170 Canadian eyeshadow palettes. I think they're $129 in the US. So this would be very nice to take with you if you didn't want to take those traveling, because I feel like the formula is very soft and fragile, and I've already had one eyeshadow like just pop right out, and I feel like that's because it's so finely milled and so soft. And also I got it in the winter time and it's really cold in Canada. These ones I feel like would travel a little bit better. They are also in a plastic container that seals really well, and it's incredibly small. You can stick this in your socks and you'll be fine, right? It'll make it there. Not a problem. The cost now is, I believe, $40 Canadian for this, maybe $39.50, something like that. So it is up there for 6 tiny little eyeshadows. So currently what I've done is I've done my face makeup. I'm going to be doing a look on each side of my eye. We're just going to do those together. I'm not going to go super close up. I'm just going to pull you in a little bit closer. And we're going to do a look with maybe the brown shades with deepening in the purple, and then the lighter shades. So let's just go ahead and try something out. I'm gonna also hopefully do a third look, so stay tuned for that. So let's get started with the first look. On my eyes, I have primed with the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. This is the original, no, anti-aging, pardon me. And I have a ton of brushes in front of me. So anything from Cliona to MAC, to Morphe, to Blend Bunny Cosmetics, so a ton of different brushes in front of me. So I'm going to first apply this shade in my crease on one eye, and I'm going to just use a fluffy rounded brush for that. And this is shade number 2. They're just numbered. They're not named that I can tell, just numbers on the back of the eyeshadow palette. And basically, I'm just heavily applying this in my crease. If you want to make it a little bit sheerer, feel free. I just want to share with you the pigmentation. You can see this has quite a bit of pigmentation. It also has a little bit of kick up in the pan. Not sure how well you'll be able to see that, but very minimal, but it is there. So I'm just applying, and then I'm going to do circular motions and blend that out really well in the crease. I do want this to be a very soft and neutral look. The other eye is going to be a little deeper and more purple. So I just wanted to share with you how you could make the first look a little bit more dramatic with some browns, and then the last look we do will be a really soft neutral look. Similar to the one I'm currently working on, just a little softer. Now on my eyes, I have quite a bit of brow area there. So I tend to set the top part with a just a neutral beige, like ivory kind of color, which is not in here. This is a shimmer shade. So I think what I may do is set that with one of my own eyeshadows, and I don't normally add shadows when I'm doing looks. So if I were traveling, I would probably just use my foundation powder to set that. I'm just going to use my MAC, I think it's called Brulee, I believe. I'm just going to set underneath my brow with this, just softly. And I'm going to go back into the Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to take this really light shade right here, which is number 3. And let's just use a more pinched ferrule brush, and I'm just going to apply that softly underneath the brow. This one has a little bit more kick up in the pan, you can see there. That was just a gentle tap as well. And this is very pigmented, and it's got a really nice kind of gold shift. So honestly, this would be really pretty as a highlighter for the face as well. If you're traveling and you want to really travel light with makeup, this would be really fine for. If you're my skin shade, it really matches actually the highlighter that I'm wearing, which is from Becca, and it's in Vanilla Quartz. I think that matches pretty much exact, except it doesn't quite have the same shift, I don't believe, but it does match tone perfectly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this eyeshadow shade right here, which is shade number 1, and I'm going to put that all over the eye. I'm thinking this is 1 and this is 3 actually, because I'm looking at it this like upside down when I'm looking at it. So I'm thinking like 1 is behind here, but really 1 is over here. So this is 1, 2, and 3. So I apologize for that. So I'm going to take the same brush, but the opposite side. So I use this for my highlight, and I'm going to use this for my lid shade. And I'm just going to take this number 3 shade right here. This also has the same kick up as the first shade, and I'm going to put that all over the lid. This is a very, very nice sort of coppery mid-tone brown, but it's not so orange coppery that it's too much copper. It's a really nice sort of neutral version of what copper could be. And I really like that because I find that strong coppers are just too much for me. Even though I have blue eyes and I love orange eyeshadows, I feel like copper shadows are maybe dated. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. But if you like copper eyeshadows, like no shade at all intended, just it's not for me. Now I'm going to take my Blend Bunny Cosmetics brush. If you guys don't have these, they're amazing. I have 2 sets and I love them so much. I'm going to take this into the deepest shade, which is the purple shade right there, and I'm just going to plump that on the outer portion of the eye. Now this is incredibly pigmented, but it does blend out pretty nicely. But I want to make sure that I have a good strong color on the eye and a good strong outer corner, just so you can see how dramatic these can go. If you wanted to, you could have left the eye the way that you saw it when I first originally applied, with just that copper shade all over the lid. But I wanted to add a little bit of a deepening shade, because if you want to take this from day to night, this is the perfect way to do it. And I'm just pressing it. I'm not even dragging it yet or blending it. I'm just pressing it around with whatever product is on the brush. And I'm just going to now pull it toward the crease. Like literally these eyeshadows blend themselves. It's beautiful. Now I'm just going to take whatever is left and slightly blend out the outer corner and pull it up a little, blending it. Tiny, tiny circular light motions. You don't want to press too hard. The farther away from the tip of the brush that you're holding it, the less pressure. So if you're holding it down here, less pressure. So you just want to make sure you're holding it very lightly and applying very little pressure, and you'll get just the softest, most beautiful blend. If you do feel like your crease is a little soft for you, like in here, if this shade is a little soft for you, you can go back and build that up. But I rather like it where it is, and I'm going to keep it here. And I will show you, I might just add a little bit of like eyeliner, but you can just add some lashes to this and you're good to go. And then a little like underneath here, which we'll do in a second. I think this eye is almost done. We're just going to blend this neutral shade right here in the center. We're going to take that on a really short brush from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, and I'm going to take that right underneath the eye. I don't normally wear a lot of eyeshadow underneath my eye, so I'm doing this for other people's benefits because I feel like it ages me. And I think it's because I have creasing underneath my eyes. Okay, and then if you want to, you can drag this out and blend it, but I tend to tear heavily, so I'm just going to leave it where it is, and then I would just leave it like that. And it's just a nice soft look. Now we're going to actually apply a tiny bit of eyeliner to that side, and I think I'm going to use a purple. I have a very dark purple from Urban Decay, and I'm just going to go very little on the outer portion, like barely touching. I'm going to take my short shader brush and blend that out on the line, like the lash line. Just so it gives me a bit more definition right at that lash line. And then I'm going to go back into this deep purple shade and just set that so that it's not tacky or collecting any fallout from other shades. Okay, so that just adds a little bit more drama and it lifts my eye. I have slightly downturned eyes, so I like to lift them a little bit by just adding a little bit of a color to the outer corner and then smoking it upward a little bit. You can also cat eye this and lift it up and pull that line tighter, or use a gel cream liner to lift your eye a little bit more, but I'm just going to leave it like this because I really like it. So this is what it looks like when you fake a lash. I totally just laid it right on there. But I want to keep my lashes off because I'm going to show you guys another look. But I thought I'll just kind of show you with a little bit of a lash what this could look like. Let's move right along to the other eye. I'm actually going to go right back into this crease transition shade really lightly. I just do that so that I sort of have an idea of where I want to lay my other products. And I'm not going to go too heavy. Just going to take whatever, a little bit on the brush and blend everything that's on there and get it really blended out. And then we're going to go in with, that's just good how it is. We're going to go in with that purple, that deeper purple shade, which is incredibly pigmented. So I think what I'm going to do is, do I want to take this brush? I might use this. It's just a Morphe brush. It's stained, so don't worry, it's not green. But I'm going to take a little bit of the purple on there, like a little bit. And I'm just going to carve out where I want the product laid down. It will build up, but I don't want to go too crazy. I just want to build up where I want the product. And it's going to go like smoky eye pretty much all over the outer like 2/3 or like outer half of the eye. So we will be using quite a bit more of the purple, but I just want to go a little bit at a time because if you just put a whole bunch on at once, it's just going to look crazy. And then you can't blend it as well as if you just went a little bit by little bit. So as you can see, it blends out really nicely and it's the deepest color in here, but you can make it super wearable. It's so pretty. I don't know what those little fluffs are on this brush, but like what is going on? Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is apply a little bit more and just start pressing it on the crease, blending that out just a little bit. And then I'm going to take a more firm brush. I'm going to go in with my Morphe Y18 and I'm going to press that shade all over the outer portion of the lid. And as you can see, As soon as you get a stiffer brush, it just applies and sets. It's really nice. And again, pressing it and sort of laying it into the crease. And then as I go closer to the inner portion, I'm just pressing it so that it's just blending out. Like it, I barely did anything and it blended out so nicely in this area. It's such a pretty color. And then what we're going to do is flip that over to the blank side, and I'm going to use this shade right here, which is, I'm going to say 6. And this one's got a lot of shift to it, but you have to really apply it on because it's one of those more, not satin, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of like between a metallic and a satin shade. Because it's like that, it sort of gives you a little bit more kick up, but just look how stunning that shadow is. This one was the hardest one for me to find a dupe in the other palettes. She does have quite a few palettes out, so, and I don't have all of them. I have the 2 holiday palettes that came out, and I also have a 6-pan, I think it's Rose Decadence or something, I can't remember, and then 3 of the bigger ones. So I don't have a lot, but you can definitely find the other shades in the other palettes, but this one, this purple one, I had a really hard time finding a dupe for it, but that's pretty much it. And then all you have to do is apply the, where are we here? The lightest shade again, which is the sort of gold beige kind of color. You know what I'm talking about, the cream, that cream shade, that cream shiny shade that we're talking about. Then just take that and blend that all the way down. And I think that's just so pretty. Like these eyeshadow looks turned out so nicely. So now I'm just going to take the Blend Bunny Cosmetics brush and I'm going to go in with the deepest shade again, but really lightly because we're going under the eye. Now that's all I'm going to put for the darker shade. Now I'm going to go back into this shade right here and go right over top of that just to blend it out a little bit further. And I just think that looks so good. It still pops the purple, but it brings a little more softness to it. And then if we are to fake a lash, you can also do that liner situation as well. But if we're to fake a lash, whoops, this is not going to hang on, is it? I may have to actually put some lash glue on there, but that's what it would look like if you had a little outer corner lash. It would probably be a good idea if I glued it. But I really like the way that these 2 turned out, and I do want to show you them before I move on to the third and final look. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. The third look is going to be very resemblant of this one. I really am so far enjoying this eyeshadow palette. It's very tiny, but it's very easy to use, and you can see you get a lot of contrasting. So a lot of purples, a lot of like coppery nude shades, but it's a small, quaint eyeshadow palette that you can easily travel with, but you can get a lot of looks from. So I'm really excited about this little guy. If I do decide to travel in the future, it is going to be something that I take with me. It might even be the only thing I take with me, because if you see the looks on my eyes, I definitely get a lot of looks out of this little tiny palette that only has 6 eyeshadows in it. So let's go ahead and start on the third and final look. Now for the final look. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Of course, I'm going to go right into this nude shade right here on that fluffy brush that we have been using. And I'm going to throw that into the crease. So now that I have the creases done, they're really applied. Like I just made sure that I applied them very, very heavy. And I want to just dust out the heavy, like the top part of the crease so that it's just more of a blend than heavy pigmentation. So I just want to blend that over and over, little circular motions going across. But because I had removed some of the makeup from before, I don't think I got all the makeup remover off because I'm noticing right here there's a tiny bit of separation on my concealer that I do under my brows. I don't use it on the rest of my eyes, just to carve out my brows. And I'm noticing like a tiny hint of separation. So now what I'm going to do is take my cream shade. I know that is not in the palette, but I definitely want to apply it and set underneath my eyes because I find that this really helps with the blend of the shadow that's directly underneath it, which would be that nude shade. And it also sets the concealer that I have that carves out my eyebrow hairs. So I just want to make sure that I have that all set. Now what we're going to do is we're going to still go back into this middle shade right here and put it all over the eye. So I'm going to take my brush that I applied that shimmery shade on and just wipe it off on a tissue. And then I'm going to put this nude shade all over my lid everywhere, from all the way from the beginning to all the way to the end. It's just one color all over the eye. Next, I'm going to take that same nude shade and I'm just going to apply it underneath both of my eyes as well. So super simple. It's just a really calm, easy look to do one shade all over the eye. Now what we're going to do is apply the shade to our brow bone. And I'm going to take a different brush because I have used that other brush for other things. So I'm just going to take a flat paddle brush and apply the lightest shade in the palette just to the brow bone, but I'm going to go a lot heavier than I did on the other looks because there's not a whole lot going on the look. I'm going to bring a little bit lift to the brow. And then the inner corner. So I'll take a really small brush. I was going to use Fix Plus, but I want to see what this is like on its own. And obviously you don't need anything because it's very bright. And I'm also going to pull it in just in the little beginning of the lower lash, just to open up the eye a little bit more. Now I'm going to go in with a brown, actually, you know what, we're going to use the purple eyeshadow again because we're going to use that deep color. So I'm going to go right on the outer portion of the eye. I'm going to go a little bit stronger than I did on the previous look, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be how you want your eye shape set. So I want it pulled up and winged up a little bit. So I'm just going to take the tiniest bit of that and then I'm going to blend it out with my short paddle brush. So now what we're going to do is take that deepest purple and we're going to go in with the same brush, just dab a tiny little bit on there, and I'm going to set at the lash line first so that the most product goes at the lash line and not up toward where you want it blended. And then I'm going to again go back and forth side to side with my brush and just bring that shade upward with whatever is left. Now just be very careful because again, these are very pigmented, so your shadow will probably end up going more places than you would expect. Just be very gentle with it, and if you need to take that nude shade again, just blend over the top part of the purple blend. But this will just give your eye that little bit of a lift. So this is just a super basic, minimalistic look. I'm going to apply a little bit of the same liner to my waterline, and then I'm going to go off screen and do my mascara and stuff, and I'll be right back to show you what that looked like. But you'll see there, like, it just adds a little bit more depth to adding a little bit to your waterline in comparison to this where your eye looks a little more open because there isn't a deeper shade in your waterline, so, or your tight line, pardon me. So here it just looks a little more than this side does. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off camera and I will be right back with my thoughts. All right, so this is the completed look, just a very neutral nude look. This is something that I would wear to work every single day, and I really enjoy this. I am a fan of the shade. I really truly do like that neutral shade in the palette. In saying that, I also love the way I did this eye in the beginning when I did the first look. I thought that was really pretty and something you could also wear, very neutral, with a little bit of pizzazz, but it's not too much that it's too crazy. So I think these are really classy eyeshadows, and I think Pat McGrath does a really good job of building a classy eyeshadow palette. Do you need them all? Do you need all the big ones, everything? Probably not, because there's a lot of repetition, a lot of rosies, a lot of golds, a lot of all that stuff, purples especially. However, that being said, this was too cute to pass up, and I thought it would be great to travel with, and sure enough, the eyeshadows perform really nice. So this is what the packaging comes in. You can see the embossment there of where the eyeshadow palette was sitting, and it has some information here. So it just says that there's a total of 3 grams worth of product in this, just that it's a mini, and then on the back it has all of the ingredients, everything listed here, the picture, 18 months from time of opening, which is really good considering I noticed that a couple of brands, i.e., what is it, Anastasia Beverly Hills, some of their eyeshadow palettes are only good for 6 months from time of opening. So 18 months is great. I'm a fan of that. Now, the eyeshadow palette is very adorable. I think that she, even though this is very subtle, class, and cute, I think it's a very well done job. I do feel like this is very Norvina-esque, the packaging. This looks like the big, massive one, but I'm a huge fan of that plastic packaging, even though it's probably not good for the environment. I am a fan of the more plastic packaging because I feel like it travels better. Also, the mirror in here, and I apologize for blinding you guys, but there is a mirror in here that is usable. Obviously, if you're doing your makeup like this, it's big enough. If you're traveling, it's fine for getting up close and personal with your eyes. Now, there is quite a bit of kick up. I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit, but there is quite a bit of kick up in the pan when you're using these eyeshadows. There is quite a bit of kick up that happens in these eyeshadows when you're using them. But that being said, I feel like they're very pretty, and you can get a lot of different looks out of just these 6 eyeshadows. But for myself personally, I do prefer to have a shade that I can blend out my like upper part of my eye area, like the socket area. I personally prefer that. So if that's not something that you require, if you have more lower brow, great. But for me, I would just grab my little quad and I'm good. So, or again, if I'm just traveling, I would just use my foundation powder. So it's always doable, but I feel like you have so much more than you actually think you have in this little tiny quad. It's now like a $40 price point in Canada. I don't know how much it is in the US. I apologize. But I do feel like it could be worth it if you're looking for a little bit more luxury style eyeshadow when you're traveling. But are the Huda ones fine? Sure, they're not the greatest, but then, I mean, it's a small palette as well, but this is just something that you get that little extra more luxurious feel with. And it is a little bit smaller, so it's much easier to store. I do really like it, and I'm glad that I purchased it. I'll definitely be using this quite a bit. So hopefully you guys do check it out as well. If I have not done so already, I will add the swatches and the comparisons in here to the other palettes. So I did compare it to 4 other palettes. The palettes that I compared it to and that I duped it to were from the Utopian Dreams eyeshadow palette, which is this one here. I also found a few shades in the Bronze Seduction number 5. And this is the Divine Rose 2. So a couple of those, and then there was one which was the harder shade, the more purpley shade to swatch. I found that shade in this Christmas palette. So just so you know, like if you're looking to try something from a few of the different palettes, this would be the perfect way to go. If you haven't tried her formula yet already, this would definitely be a good way to go. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed these eyeshadow looks, and I hope you try them. If you do, go out and get this palette for yourself. Let me know in the comments down below if you've decided to pick it up already, or if you have been, you know, a little bit inspired by maybe this video. I really hope you are. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in the next video. Thanks, everybody.